For a show that has always been about pressure, trauma, family, and the pursuit of perfection, The Bear ends in a surprisingly hopeful way. After 5 seasons of watching Carmy Berzato and the people around him push themselves to their limits, the finale finally gives these characters something they have rarely experienced throughout the series: peace. Season 5 begins immediately after Carmy tells Sydney, Richie, and Natalie that he intends to leave the restaurant. That revelation hangs over the entire final season as everyone struggles to keep the bear alive. The team is running out of money, food supplies are low, and Uncle Jimmy's patience is almost gone. Everything comes down to one final dinner service that could either save the restaurant or become its last night in business. By the end of episode 7, the impossible seems to happen. Despite storms, shortages, stress, and constant setbacks, the staff delivers one of the best services they have ever produced. For the first time in a long while, they aren't just surviving, they're working together. They laugh, connect, and rediscover why they wanted to build this place in the first place. But the question remains, was it enough to save the restaurant? The finale answers that question while also bringing closure to nearly every major character. Rather than focusing on another chaotic shift, the episode slows down and lets everyone breathe. The morning after the huge service feels different. The kitchen is nearly empty, but the mood has changed. There is optimism in the air. The staff knows the future is uncertain, yet they also know they accomplished something special together. One of the biggest storylines involves Ebrahim's dream of expanding the original beef sandwich business. Throughout the season, he has been developing a franchise proposal based on the success of the sandwich window. In typical Ebra fashion, he spends the morning rehearsing his pitch over and over again, determined not to be intimidated by Carmy. What makes this storyline meaningful is that it represents growth. Ebra is no longer simply following directions. He is creating opportunities for himself and for the future of the business. Meanwhile, Natalie delivers some harsh reality. Despite the successful service, the restaurant still made no profit. The bear may have impressed customers, but financial problems remain. This reinforces a recurring theme throughout the series. Great food and passion alone are not always enough to guarantee success. Richie receives a surprising opportunity when he is invited to attend an international hospitality seminar in Japan. At first, the idea terrifies him. Richie has never been on a plane before, and the thought of leaving his comfort zone triggers serious anxiety. His reaction perfectly reflects the character we met back in season 1, a man who often sabotaged himself because he was afraid of change. One of the most satisfying moments in the finale occurs when Richie finds himself overwhelmed in the freezer. The scene mirrors one of the show's most famous conflicts, when Carmy was trapped in the freezer and unleashed his frustrations. This time, however, the situation is completely different. Instead of arguing, Carmy stays with Richie and helps calm him down. The moment demonstrates how far both men have come. Years ago, they communicated through anger. Now they communicate through compassion. The conversation between Carmy and Uncle Jimmy is equally important. Jimmy admits that the restaurant has nearly drained him financially. He jokes and complains, but underneath the humor is genuine concern. He doesn't want Carmy to quit simply because things became difficult. However, Carmy has already made his decision. The reason Carmy leaves is perhaps the most important part of the ending. Throughout the entire series, he believed that greatness required suffering. Every achievement came with anxiety, self-destruction, and emotional isolation. The restaurant represented both his dream and his prison. By the finale, he finally realizes that continuing down the same path will only repeat the cycles that have haunted him for years. A lesson from Uncle Lee stays with him. If you want to break patterns, you have to break patterns. Carmy understands that leaving isn't failure, it is growth. It is choosing a different future. At the same time, Carmy knows the bear can survive without him because of Sydney. This becomes one of the finale's central messages. For years, Carmy carried the weight of the restaurant on his shoulders, believing he was the only person capable of leading it. The final season proves otherwise. Sydney has evolved into a leader in her own right. She possesses creativity, discipline, vision, and the ability to inspire others. Her final conversation with Carmy beautifully captures their relationship. The series never turns them into a romantic couple, despite years of fan speculation. Instead, their connection remains rooted in friendship, trust, and mutual respect. That choice feels true to the show because their bond has always been built on understanding rather than romance. The biggest surprise arrives when the mysterious caller finally reaches Carmy. Throughout the season, an unknown number keeps appearing on his phone. When he eventually answers, he discovers it is Peter Clark, a guest who visited the restaurant months earlier. The revelation initially seems minor, but it leads directly to the finale's most emotional moment. Peter explains how impressed he was by Sydney's cooking, particularly one of her dishes. His praise highlights everything the restaurant has accomplished. Then comes the news everyone has been waiting for. The bear didn't earn one Michelin star. It earned two. The announcement serves as validation for years of sacrifice, stress, and hard work. Throughout the series, Michelin recognition represented the ultimate goal. It symbolized excellence. It symbolized belonging among the world's greatest restaurants. Most importantly, it symbolized proof that all the struggle meant something. When Sydney learns the news, she rushes to Carmy and embraces him. It is one of the most emotional scenes in the finale because neither character needs to explain what the achievement means. They both understand. Carmy tells her, "You did it," but the moment belongs to both of them. Sydney provided the vision, while Carmy believed in her when she doubted herself. Together, they built something extraordinary. The irony is that the Michelin stars arrive at the exact moment Carmy decides to leave. In many stories, achieving the dream would be the ending. Here, it becomes proof that Carmy can finally walk away. He no longer needs validation. The restaurant has succeeded. Sydney is ready. His work is done. The finale also reveals what comes next for Carmy. Instead of opening another restaurant or taking another high-profile chef position, he chooses something entirely different. Drawing has always been one of his creative passions, and he decides to pursue architecture. By accepting an internship at an architectural firm, Carmy redirects his creativity toward a healthier outlet. This choice perfectly completes his character arc. Architecture still allows him to create beautiful things, but without the destructive environment that dominated his life. It shows that passion can evolve rather than disappear. Elsewhere, Marcus continues moving forward after one of the most difficult periods of his life. He says goodbye to Luca, who leaves for Copenhagen. Luca's departure suggests that his time at the Bear has reached its natural conclusion. Marcus also inherits Carmy's journals, which feels deeply symbolic. Those notebooks contain years of experience, mistakes, and lessons. Passing them to Marcus is essentially Carmy's way of entrusting the future generation with everything he has learned. Tina receives recognition for her growth as well. Her journey from reluctant employee to respected chef has been one of the show's most rewarding transformations. The finale acknowledges how far she has come and reinforces the idea that the Bear changed everyone's lives, not just Carmy's. The mystery of the spoon thief is finally solved in a humorous reveal. Marcus turns out to be responsible, providing one last lighthearted moment before the series concludes. It is a small payoff, but it fits the finale's overall tone. The show is no longer interested in creating tension. It wants to celebrate these characters. Richie's story receives perhaps the happiest ending. After years of feeling lost, he decides to face his fears and attend the seminar in Japan. Even better, his relationship with Jess becomes official. The finale confirms what many viewers hoped for when the two are shown together preparing for the trip. In the final moments, they are holding hands on the plane, symbolizing Richie's willingness to embrace the future instead of running from it. Claire also returns during the closing scenes. Although the finale leaves certain details open to interpretation, her presence at the celebration strongly suggests she and Carmy have found their way back into each other's lives. The show doesn't spend time defining their relationship because that isn't really the point. What matters is that Carmy appears genuinely happy and emotionally available in a way he never was before. The final gathering at the restaurant brings everyone together. Family members, friends, coworkers, and loved ones fill the space that has been at the center of the series from the beginning. The Bear is no longer just a restaurant, it has become a home. One particularly touching moment comes when Carmy sends a text message to Mikey's old phone number saying, "All good." It is a simple line, but it carries enormous emotional weight. Since the beginning of the series, Mikey's death has shaped every decision Carmy made. Sending that message feels like a final goodbye. It is Carmy telling his brother that everything will be okay. The family survived. The restaurant survived. He survived. In the end, the Bear remains open. Sydney becomes its leader. Ibra expands the sandwich business into a franchise. Richie begins a new adventure with Jess. Marcus continues growing as a chef. Tina earns the respect she worked so hard for. Luca moves on. Claire remains part of the extended family. And Carmy finally allows himself to imagine a life beyond the kitchen. The final message of The Bear isn't about Michelin stars or restaurant success, it's about healing. Every major character spends years trapped by fear, grief, insecurity, or regret. The finale doesn't magically erase those struggles, but it shows that people can grow beyond them. Carmy learns that he doesn't have to suffer to create. Sydney learns she is capable of leading. Richie learns that fear doesn't have to control him. Together, they prove that family isn't defined by blood alone. Sometimes it's built through shared struggles, long nights, impossible challenges, and the people who choose to stand beside you when everything seems hopeless. After 5 seasons of chaos, stress, and relentless pressure, The Bear ends with something its characters spent years searching for: hope. The restaurant survives, the dream becomes reality, and for the first time in a very long time, everyone seems ready for tomorrow.